If the expression "kill it with fire" was transmorgified into a pot metal box with some lights and lasers with the capability to be strapped to a rifle, it would probably be the SMS laser XK68 or the very similar Amazonian XYH-Win, which we have here today. Now, I have no affiliation with SMS Laser, though they did offer to send me their newest and more well-featured HFXC, which I declined and ended up buying with my own money. Video coming out on that in the next month or two. Long story short, it's better than the XK68, but then again, what isn't? So let's get into basics. The SMS marked, Amazonian named XYH-Win has a very powerful LED based illuminator and IR laser and Viz green laser. Both of those are more powerful than what the FDA would like you to have, but the Chinaman don't ask for permission. Of the two lasers, the IR is the more inboard and it's almost overbore, not quite, but close enough for goon work. Very importantly, the IR and Viz laser aren't co-aligned, so you will need to zero them separately. Speaking of zeroing, behind the lasers we have two sets of the worst turrets known to man. Tiny Allen head screws adjust the lasers up, down, left, and right, but really in name only. Everyone that I've heard talk about these say that they don't hold zero, and I can see why. Now, for a couple hundred rounds, mine is held well enough for a reduced size target at 100 yards, but it's not ever something that I would trust. Now let's move on to the mode selector. You have all of the modes that you could ever want, starting with the most important, off. Turn it off and dispose of it safely. But if you don't do that, you can turn everything on at once, which is funny to see. You have the green and IR laser, which if you zero the Viz laser during the day, you can slave the IR laser to it at night, though keep in mind you are slaving the laser to something at a different angle, so your divergence at distance will look quite funny, but it won't matter since you won't be using it at distance. The only quote-unquote usable mode is the IR illuminator and IR laser. Then you also have IR laser only, IR illum, and green laser for some reason, green laser, and IR laser only. And then of course we're back to the good setting, which is off on the Lazy Susan of Pain. Moving back again, we have a 3-pin tape switch port that won't work with anything with their tape switches, or switch I should say. One neat little thing is that the tape switch does click into place with this detent locking system, then you pull this slider back and you can pull the tape switch out. The tape switch port also doubles as a charging port for the included USB cable. Now that is important because the battery is an internal rechargeable battery that is not user serviceable. Now the runtime is decent, but the charge time is rated at 2 hours, so good luck when this thing runs out of battery halfway through your crack house suite. Now some laser aiming modules have good fire buttons for lefties, some for righties, some for both, but SMS simply said kill yourself if you want to activate this without the included tape switch. For some reason, the tiny button is on the right side of the unit. The only ergonomic way to activate the unit using the button is to mount it on the left side of a quad rail. Based quad rail gang, rise up. Talking about the mount, briefly, it mounts. Now about that IR illuminator. Well, SMS decided to turn that power up to 11 on a floody illuminator, which under a glance might look like a good amount of illumination on target. However, it is so much illumination that it crushes everything else. It autocates your tubes in an open field. At one point I tried to mount it further back on a BCM riser, but that was just not going to happen. It basically turned my tube off every time I pressed the button with how much light reflects back into the tube if it isn't mounted as far away from you as possible. The beam pattern is much wider than what I have seen on similar units. The Defentac 9045 can be mounted all the way back and still be usable. The Tufsol 9069 has a much tighter beam. Both of those, while less powerful, use their power in a much more useful way. Remember guys, it isn't how much you have, it's how you utilize it. Now the laser is appropriately powered for the IR illuminator and it looks very clean, it's easy to aim with, all good there, but again you lose all of your already limited periphery when the illuminator is on because of how much it auto-gates your tubes. And keep in mind I'm in an open field most of the time, so this will only get worse if you're around structures, cars, trees, brush, humans, ugh. But you get it. The one area where it does better than lesser powered units is in a mixed lighting environment, for instance an urban environment where you want to illuminate a shadow on the other side of a streetlight. It works okay for that. The illuminator is powerful enough to punch through that type of photonic barrier, but without any way to focus it or turn it down, it's mostly useless 90+% of the time. Now it is of course a LED based illuminator and therefore it will come with a light red glow when it's activated, I know that does scare some people because that might give away your position to an opposing force, but really, if you're going up against an opposing force with this laser, then just do them a favor and end it early, bro. GG, well played. But if you don't want to end it all, and in fact, if you want to help keep me going, check out my Subscribe Star, where you could get this unit sent to your door like a lump of coal in your stocking from an angry autistic Santa Claus. So yeah, it's a nonsense brick by SMS Laser, unlike their new HFXC, which is a different sort of nonsense that's at least entertaining and useful in some scenarios. But again, we'll talk about that a little later on. So with all that out of the way, gentlemen, let me know what you think of this laser. Or don't, I don't care anymore. But once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, or at least were entertained for a little while, and I will see you in the next one. God bless.